Welcome to today's webinar sponsored by the Center for Teaching and Learning Excellence at St. Leo University. We'll be recording this webinar, so if you'd like to view it later or recommend it to a colleague, you'll find it on our webinar page of our CTLE website or on our YouTube channel. We'll drop the links for those in the chat at the end of today's session. My name is Isa Salazar, a Teaching and Learning Specialist for CTLE. Our topic for today is using Google Docs in the classroom, fun, flexibility, and anonymous Blobfish. I'd like to introduce to you our speaker and presenter today, Dr. Ann Barngrover.
Hey everyone, thanks so much for coming, and thanks Isis for setting this up. Okay, so I'm going to share the screen, and if at any point you have a question, feel free to raise your hand or just interrupt and ask. I'll have time for questions at the end too. And I'll also provide a link to this PowerPoint here so you can refer back to it. The Google Docs slide of how to use Google Docs is actually a Google Doc, so I can just provide the link for it. Alrighty, so this is my presentation on using Google Docs in the classroom. All right, so the first part is kind of understanding my reason why I decided to do this and kind of like why I made this switch. So I switched to using Google Docs from just like Microsoft Word, kind of like during the pandemic, or like the more intense part of the pandemic when we were all going online, kind of like 2020, 2021, you know, when we kind of had to make more tech-friendly availability. So the main way I've used it is kind of like when creating a syllabus or a schedule. So here were kind of my reasons why I decided to switch and why it's been helpful. So you have a live link with a Google Doc rather than like a static Word or printed document. I mean, back in the day, I used to, you know, have a Word document in my D2L course page. And then I also used to go print out a billion copies, you know, of all my stuff, and it took forever. And I haven't printed anything like in years now. And so, you know, even though I'm a writer and a reader and like, I like the physical copy, I get that. But at the same time, when you're constantly updating or innovating, like then you have to print it out again and again, or you have to save it again and again. And you just don't know if students have like which copy. So I found it just easier to like have a live link that you could kind of go through and update, and you didn't have to constantly alert them like, oh, on page 2, I changed this, or, you know, the schedule changed or whatnot. You just, you know, you just could go in and change. You don't have to like do multiple save drafts or anything like that. It takes the pressure off of creating kind of a perfect document up front. You know, just kind of with that knowledge of like, okay, you know, if I don't know necessarily what I'm going to do in week 10 of the semester, I can always just like change it as needed. You know, or like, I don't have to wait to upload this for everything to be perfect. Like I can still just kind of go through and change a few things here and there. I mean, just this morning, I noticed some typos on my syllabus. And so I was quick changing them, and I didn't have to be like, you know, re-upload like a whole different document. I feel like the syllabi are more interactive and all-inclusive this way. You can link to other Google Docs within it. You can link to shared Google Drives, other websites, Zoom links, D2L assignment folders, etc. So the syllabus does become sort of like a one-stop shop. So in my like course pages for D2L, I just basically have my syllabus, and then I have like my assignment folders, and that's basically it. Because I've noticed that students really only kind of see what's in front of them. They kind of have a hard time like problem solving or sort of going from one screen to the next. Like if you ever kind of put any sort of barriers in between them, and it's like takes them 3 steps to get to something, you're going to kind of lose people along the way, versus if it just takes 1 step to get somewhere. So I think it just like that extra step, kind of like, you know, creates sort of confusion, or just kind of can lose people along the way. If you kind of have it all there together, then at least it's just in one place. I've just noticed that to be a bit easier. I also require students to bring their laptops to class every day so they can use the Google Doc and have it in front of them. And I used to really resist this, like in my syllabi for the first, they're using them in class, because I was just worried that people would, waste time on them. But instead, I've noticed that when they bring them in and I tell them to bring them in, they don't really waste time on it as much, because it's not like it's contraband or they're doing something they're not supposed to. Like, it's an educational necessity and they're kind of all plugged in and ready to go. And it's not so much about like, ooh, you're doing something wrong. It's just like, okay, a laptop is a tool, like technology is a tool, let's use it. And you can put in memes more easily in a Google Doc syllabus, which is fun. Okay, so here's a couple of my examples. So here's one for an English class that I taught last semester. You can see that it can link directly here to like my Zoom link for my office hours, or the class Zoom link if they need it, for my email. They just click there. And then all of like the books I required linked directly to the Amazon page, so they could just go straight there. I could link past examples of student essays right here. It linked to this grading rubric in a different Google Doc. Here's like MLA formatting help, a couple websites. The Zoom link again for the class. And then like even things like the modified schedule, it linked like to that website where the modified schedule was, other docs. Here's like discussion question 1. It links to the assignment folder in our course page, so they can just click right there. So yeah, all of the like different assignments, have them linked here to where they need to go to upload them. Because sometimes I'll have students like uploading assignments in the wrong folders. So here, they know exactly which folder to click on. Yeah, so there's that one. Here's another example, pretty similar. This is like for an honors class I taught last semester. Again, you can do, past papers or like handouts or rubrics here, because I used to kind of say like, look under content, for the rubric. But then again, that was just an extra step where you could lose people along the way. So to have it right there in the syllabus, like it's just a one-stop shop. Yeah, and then to all of our readings too. So for this class, we had a lot of readings that were online or in a reading packet that I put. So this linked to another reading packet or to places online where they could immediately go. And it was just kind of like, they just needed to go, to the actual date, and then everything was right there with them. So again, if people are like, what do we do in class today? I just say like, go to that date, and like literally everything is right there. So yeah, so that was another example. And then these are just kind of schedules. So I also direct our graduate program in creative writing. And this was our residency schedule over the summer, which needed to change because there was a massive COVID outbreak on day 3, and we had to pivot to Zoom because everybody was really sick. So initially, we had it like meeting in person and all this stuff. And then you can see I had to switch it. So instead of being like, disregard that other one, here's this new one, blah, 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 I just changed it directly on the Google Doc. And, I was able to link all of the different Zoom links for the workshop here that were all now at this point online because everybody was lying sick in bed. Another PowerPoint here, slides, and they could just follow along. Here's sign-up sheets. Like I had like the grad reading or the open mic, and then people could go directly onto it and just write their own names. That's another thing too. Whenever I do conferences with students and I'm like scheduling things, I used to have to do it myself, and they would have to email me, if they needed to switch a schedule. And now I just have them write directly on the Google Doc. So if they're like, I need to switch my schedule, I'm like, cool, do it yourself, go to the sheet, find an open time. Like it just makes them more proactive, because then they're able to fill out things themselves rather than kind of going through me to do so. And again, like here would be my specific workshop for the residency this summer. You can also do things where you like go directly to that day. So here I had like the schedule for the week, and then they could jump directly to that day from that main one. So if they wanted to come here and they're like, okay, I'm going to go to Thursday, just jump directly there. I linked to our overall packet where we had everybody submit their workshops. And that's another thing I'll show about like a shared Google Doc where everybody can put their work and find each other's work. So yeah, it just made it a lot easier to kind of navigate. Okay. All right. So how switching to Google Docs has changed my teaching style, also with reading annotations and peer workshops. So the edit function can cater to both visual and hands-on styles of learning. So you can set up the doc so that other people can just view it and can't edit and comment on it, or you can have it so that other people can edit it too. So a lot of times I'll make the edit function that everybody can edit on the same document. And to me, this allows them to actively take notes or to like change things if the assignment calls for it. And so that engages that kind of hands-on kinetic, learning style. Students get to critically engage with the text and practice their annotation and note-taking skills. And this pivots the concept of reading from passive absorption to active involvement. And this is one of my biggest things as an English professor that, I write in all of my books. Like I show my students, like, I'm always underlining things and hearting things and starring things and writing questions, in all of the books that I read. And that's how to actively read. If you're just kind of passively absorbing things, you're not really going to take it all in. But if you have a pen in hand and you're actually engaging with the text and not treat it kind of as this like precious thing, not to touch, you're gonna psychologically, like their neural pathways are gonna, absorb it more. So to translate that on the computer, if you're actually using the highlight function and highlighting documents or writing comments on the side, you're gonna remember the material more and you're engaging with it and having a conversation with it. So sometimes I'll have them do discussions with one another in the margins. Like, someone might say like, this sentence really confused me. I wasn't sure what the author meant here. And then someone could write, yeah, it really confused me too, but I think maybe they meant blah, blah, blah. And then a person below could say, yeah, I think that's what they were going for. I kind of read it this way, so they're kind of having like an informal discussion in the margins, which kind of echoes the conversational style of like group chat and social media, that students sort of already feel comfortable with. I mean, students of this age are really comfortable talking online and chatting, through text this way. That's their kind of normal mode of communication. So I find they're really receptive to like the margin comments. And then this facilitates in-person class discussions and encourages shy students to share. So, if they do that ahead of time, then it's really easy for me to kind of say, hey, Emily, I saw that you wrote a really interesting margin comment last night on this. Can you tell us a little bit more about that? Or, Emily and Camila, you were having kind of a discussion about, about this, this aspect. Could you kind of like talk about your debate a little bit here, with the class, right? Or sometimes, I'll take participation. Like if I see a student has written a lot of comments, but maybe doesn't feel comfortable speaking up in class as much, I'll still consider those comments participation. And it's just kind of like a fun, low pressure way to work together as a group. They can pick different colors to highlight. Also, I was saying the anonymous blobfish, because when they all go on the Google Doc, it shows them as little animals. So they're kind of funny animals that pop up. And my favorite is the blobfish. Okay, so I'll show a few examples of like Google Doc reading annotations and peer workshops. Oops. Okay, so here was for my Love and Desire class. So this was, I copied and pasted different like things that we read, and then I would link to where I originally found them online so they could go and find like the original text if they wanted. And this took longer to copy and paste all of it, but then they're able to actually write comments. So this person, wrote this here. We would read it out loud in class sometimes, which is, to me, I'm a really big proponent of reading things out loud in class as an English professor, because they hear themselves engaging with the language and they can pick up the cadence of the sentences. So people like underline things here. This one, they did more. So like you can see people engaging and asking questions. Sometimes they'll talk to each other a little bit. Yeah, and then we can just, use that to actively like talk in class. This was an example where I was talking about abstractions versus specific, and we watched a Taylor Swift music video, and I had the lyrics here, and they had to highlight like which were specific things and which were abstractions. And then they did that with actual poems from the book that we were reading. I kind of wrote it out for them. And they went through and kind of did the same thing in groups. And then they explained, what were abstractions here and what were specifics and what were sensory details, like in these different colors. So here's like a reading packet, for my MA workshop over the summer. And then you can see, people were highlighting things. They had to read it overnight, a story per night or something. And then people would write comments, like, this is beautiful, or I'm interested here, or like, I was confused here, and it just like helped facilitate, discussion in class the next day. And people just were on the tip of their tongue, like ready to go, because they'd already engaged with the text the night before so much. And then like I do a shared Google Drive for their workshops. So all they have to do is just upload a Google Doc of the work that they turn in. So this could be for like a peer workshop or anything where they all need to read each other's work. I found this a lot easier than discussion boards, and also easier than like assignments, because then I only see the assignments they turn in. And in discussion boards, you can't really do the comment function as much. So for instance, somebody turned in their short story that they wrote. And then, this person wrote book recommendations, or this gives me a very strong love cap vibes, or like people started writing things, I wonder if you could do this and that. Why did you put italics here, or trust your readers, or, like people were kind of highlighting. And this was before, we did the workshop in class. So then the next day we came in and, we talked about like everything that they had written here. So we did this for all of them, yeah, like, so this one said, like, you got me hooked here. And this one's like, see, I don't know. It actually got me kind of a creepy vibe. I didn't really see what you saw here. Right. And then I was like, even Caitlin, it seems like you kind of disagreed here about the vibe that this part gave up. Can you like bring that debate into real life? And they were like, yeah, and they, kind of hashed it out, in person, or said like, actually you wrote that. I kind of see what you're saying now, so it just kind of brought it then into the classroom. Okay. So here, part 2 is how to use the Google Docs yourself. And this is the part where I will, definitely make sure to share these slides, because I'm going to go through like a step-by-step. So if you have a Google account, you automatically have access to Google Docs on Google Drive. So it's right here. You just go to these little dots on your right-hand screen, the right-hand corner of your screen, and you just click on the Drive icon right there. Okay, so then you just click new here to create a new doc or folder. And then you can, if you just want to do a doc, you would just go down to Google Docs and then blank document. If you want to do Excel here, slides here, folder, there's other things you can do. Okay, so once you have that blank document, if you want to put in links, you would just click on this little chain here, link, And if you want to do a linked heading, like in that one where you could jump to different parts of the document, what you do is you would, write out the words and then you would highlight it. And then the very first thing where it's going to say TT, you would click on that. Okay. And then you would just go here where it says copy link. And then you can copy that elsewhere. So it will jump from one part of the document to another. If you want to do an external link, like if you want to do a Zoom link or a website or another document, you would just, again, highlight it and click on the insert link button here. And then you would highlight the actual URL link from wherever else, whatever other website you want to use. So for instance, this is like from D2L. And then you'd go back to, that actual text that's highlighted and just copy and paste it here. And then that'll hyperlink it. If you want to insert images, the link and it will say upload from computer. So you could just share something, you could just save something on your computer. For instance, this little meme, I've saved. Okay. And then you can upload it, and then to kind of move it around in your document so that, the text will go around it. Click on this second one here. And then you can allow it to kind of move around and not disrupt the wording. If you want to add a comment on a doc, you can just click on this little plus button here to type in something, or you can, add emojis here. Here's how to highlight. It's this little paint, and it'll bring up lots of different colors. Oops. Okay. So again, yeah, if you want to, actually have a comment, you would just click on that little add button, and then you can, have a comment here, and then you can edit that or like add additional comments. And then one thing, so a little downside to having everybody edit at once is I've had it a couple times where sometimes people will accidentally mess it up, or like their computer will spaz out and suddenly it's like writing things, but no, don't panic. There's a way you can fix that easily. So you can use Google Docs to see or restore older versions of something. So even if it automatically saves, you can always go back. Okay. So what you do is it would say up there, like last edit made, however many minutes ago by whoever. Okay. So you would just click on that and it says open version history. And then it will show you the version history, the different like things that it looked like here. And you would just click on restore this version. Yeah. Oh, sorry, I skipped one. Yeah, so here you can kind of see like how it sort of looked different. And then you can click on each version and see the way it looked. And if you wanted to go back, then just click on that version, restore this version. And then if you wanted to download the Google Doc, like if you made, everything, and then you wanted to save it as a Microsoft Word or as a PDF, all you would do is click on File and then go to Download. And then it would have your options. So a lot of times, like, I'll make something and then I want to save it as a PDF, and then I'll just open it that way. And then finally, if you want to share, so at first it will just be private for you. So automatically it will only, you'll be the only one who can see it. But to change this, you just go up to the top right-hand corner and click on this blue share button, and it should be locked initially. And then it'll say restricted, so you can click on anyone with a link. And then initially, it could say anyone the link can just view it, right? Or you can change it to they can comment on it, or they can edit it. Okay. So, if you want people to be able to write directly on it or highlight it, then they need to be able to edit it or comment. But if you just want them to read it and nothing else, then just have them view it. And then you can either add people individually here, but what I usually do is I just copy the link. And as long as you copy the overall link, people will be able to edit it and see it. And this is, yeah, again, with the share settings, if you want to have them be able to write on everything or see everything in an entire folder, like an entire drive. I created this folder, and then all you do is click share here. And again, you go through the same thing. So like when I have my students all upload their workshops, I just initially make the settings of the whole drive that they can all edit it. So every single thing that people upload into it, everybody has access and they can all write on it. And that's it. I know I went through kind of quickly, but if anybody has questions, just let me know. And again, I will share, this slide, especially the step-by-step versions.
And I love how this makes your class so dynamic and changing. And I love the humanity in it with the memes and the graphics and the interactions with the students. We know so much now about how important it is for students to feel connected and belonging and, being able to interact like that. So I really appreciate your sharing this with us today. I can see how a lot of people could really take advantage of that. And not having to photocopy hundreds of pages of syllabi makes so much sense today.
Totally. Yeah. And I think too, it makes my life easier, like this has really cut down on little busy work that I've had to do. And then that leaves me with more energy for my students, and more time and energy that I can actually engage with them and help them and work on, the material versus like dealing with uploading a copy a million times or, preparing all different things for class. Like it streamlines a lot.
How do you alert them?
Life easier. Sorry, go ahead.
How do you alert them when you do make changes? Do you just announce that in class? Do you use a different color or notation in the syllabus for a change? How do you do that?
It depends on the change. Like if it was just a little typo, they don't need to know,
right? Exactly.
But if it was like an actual change, like, I changed the reading schedule because we're behind, or, hey, last semester I realized that my students were really needed a lot more help with like the research aspect of things. And I was like, I just changed the whole assignment because I was like, I need to meet them where they are a little bit more. So I just let them know, like, this is a major change, we're going to go through it. But yeah, it just kind of depends on the change itself. But I think the beauty of that is like, you can still tell them when there's a change, but if you just made a little typo or a link didn't work or something, you can just real quick go in there and, none's the wiser.
Yeah. Do you ever have a student who says, well, I already started that assignment and now you've changed it? The one who works ahead 4 weeks and
yeah. I haven't recently. I did have somebody last semester who got a little behind because, and this was a non-traditional student who was a bit older. He printed out the Google Docs. And then when I changed things, like when we had to, we had the hurricane, so our schedule got kind of disrupted. And so I just changed things directly on it and, kind of told them like, okay, obviously, our schedule's different. We, didn't have class for a week. But I probably should have made it more apparent because he went ahead and had printed it out and then he got kind of confused with the reading. So I was like, no, like it's, I understand wanting to have a physical copy and like that would have been a good advice, but like right now, like it can change. So just be alert to that. So yeah. And I mean, sometimes I once in a blue moon, I have had a student. Oh, sorry. Yeah, once in a blue moon. Oh, go ahead.
We do have a question in the comments. It's at the question is, can you share a PowerPoint for people to work on? So are you able to use other writing tools from Google?
Yeah, exactly. So I created this slide, these slides on Google Docs. So if you go, I can go back to show you.
So were you using Google Slides or were you using PowerPoint?
Yeah, I used Google Slides. So here, when you click on, just go down to Google Slides right here instead of Google Docs. And then you can do the same things with the share settings that you would for the Google Doc.
But if you're married to PowerPoint, you can actually still have shared documents in PowerPoint as well. So if
Okay,
someone's got a preference for that, you can still work collaboratively in PowerPoint.
Gotcha.
So just in case, Audrey or whoever asked the question, wanted to know that, we'd be glad to help. But
Cool.
Google Slides is terrific. I mean, they were collaborative before PowerPoint was, I believe.
Yeah. And two, I know a lot of students, don't have access to Microsoft Word. Like they don't want to pay for it. I think it should come free, but I feel like even when I say that, a lot of them are like, oh, I couldn't get it to work, or it's
and
told
just
me
so
I had to pay or this and that. So I think now that I've been,
if you ever have students ask you that, they get Microsoft 365, the whole shebang, for free.
Yeah.
Student here, they get access to all of that, and it's really pretty powerful suite. And they don't have to download it on their hard drive either, if I understand that correctly. A 365 is web-based. Is that right, Greg?
As you were saying, that students do get the whole shebang with St. Leo, right?
Yeah.
I figured they would, but I feel like sometimes I still tell them that, and they're still like, well, I can't figure it out, or this and that. And so I'm just like, okay, let's just use,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but Google's a great resource. This is really impressive. I think this is, we really appreciate you doing it today. We'll have, if it's okay with you, we'll post it on our website, not only as a previous webinar, but we're going to be working on a page on collaborative tools, and this will be a great addition to that.
And then, if anybody ever has questions or anything, you can feel free to email me and I can try to help. I'm not a total expert, but I feel like I've spent a lot of time with it, and they're constantly innovating too. They're always updating features, which is fun.
Thank you so much for participating in today's webinar. We hope you've learned something today that you can use in your everyday teaching. If you'd like to apply something you've learned, we encourage you to use our apply and reflect form to earn additional points on the leaderboard. We'd like to ask you to please take a moment to give us some helpful feedback about today's session. We've dropped a link into the chat. Once you click on that link, the survey will stay open even after you've left today's meeting. Lastly, remember to check this out and more videos on our YouTube channel and our webinar page on our website. We'll drop those links in the chat as well. Thanks again for coming, and I hope everyone has a great day.